Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases. Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. As always, if you're new to our channel, we want to welcome you and thank you for being here tonight. And in the chat, always respect families, respect mods, and respect each other. We'll have a short presentation, of course, and then after that, I'll get to all the questions that we can. And tonight, of course, we're going to be talking about some recent news with regarding Idaho 4 and Kohberger. And with that being said, if you'll pull it up. Okay. Of course, if you have any information on this case, absolutely make sure that law enforcement has that information. Make contact with them, no matter if you believe it's been called in before or otherwise. Let law enforcement and the prosecutors make that final decision. And if you've ever had contact with this individual, once again, make sure everyone knows any information you have on him, because he is the one that they have charged, Brian Kohberger, with the homicides of Madison, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. And absolutely, every week we look at these, or there's something new. 2 weeks ago, we were all talking about, and it came up, and it was being speculated that they had the absolute proof as far as finding IDs possibly belonging to one of the victims at his Pennsylvania residence. And now, this week, we're 180 degrees away from that. Now we have someone that's at 1122 King Road that the courts, through the defense, has made a claim that they are having to subpoena a witness, one of the survivors, the one that lived on the bottom floor, that may have some type of exculpatory evidence. And for that's the big fancy word for has information that shows the defense's client isn't guilty. Now, is that the case? You know, it may be another one of those things just as wild, outlandish out there as we have IDs located at his residence. But in this case, we have something that is from a person that's involved in the investigation. And what will that information be? And it's we'll discuss that tonight. And of course, in chat, there'll be a lot of speculation also as of what is that witness going to be able to say. And of course, I'm not going to mention the witness's name. It's in the court documents, of course. Anyone wanting to know who the surviving witness is that is causing this issue, as far as the defense wanting to create these headlines. And that's just part of the defense's job. As they go in there and they're prepping their trial and they're prepping everything on their side, the jury pool is still out there. The jury pool lives in that community. And anytime that anyone, they're under a gag order, they can't be talking about anything. But some of these hearings and these court proceedings, they're publicized and they're known. And so some of this is just going to be some type of, making use of the news media and putting that information out there that there's a possibility that there's evidence showing that Brian Kohberger is not involved. And right now, Brian Kohberger is as innocent as anyone in the country for the fact that he's not been convicted of these homicides. He has been charged with it. Probable cause has been shown, presented to a judge, and the judge has filed and signed those arrest warrants. And so we have probable cause on him. He hasn't been convicted yet. And so you can see, whereas whatever information they have, is it really just a nothing burger, and it's just a play by the defense trying to um, uh, give an impression to the whole jury pool out there at some point that yes, there is information out there that shows our client isn't the one that committed these homicides, regardless that his knife sheath was found in the bed of two of the victims. And so whatever this individual has that was on the bottom floor, not the one that saw him pass by the door that gave the description, but the one that was downstairs, that law enforcement hasn't contacted or hasn't didn't put anything in the affidavits that we know of that indicate any information as leading to the arrest of Brian Kohberger. Now, that may be not totally accurate, for the fact that law enforcement within that affidavit for the search warrants and the arrest warrants, they may not include all the information. They may not include all the evidence, and they may have cherry picked certain things just to get that probable cause. And so we really don't know everything that this witness that lived on the bottom floor had released. Law enforcement knows. They absolutely would have went in and during the interview processes, speaking to her and trying to work and doing victimologies on the victims, the ones that of her roommates that died, and trying to figure out everyone that's ever been in that residence. And so her statement is already there. Law enforcement pretty well knows everything that she stated, and they felt secure with it, safe with it. And I'm sure they've also told her, as is pretty typical in law enforcement when you're doing the interviews, that if you come up or if you remember something else, let us know. Now, we have this defense attorney that we'll be talking about here in a minute that says that we have some other stuff. But anyway, before we get to that, we'll go ahead and talk about that. This motion, of course, there was a subpoena issued to bring this out-of-state witness back into the state of Idaho for a court hearing for the preliminary to offer a story. And of course, there was an attorney here that's taken up the cause, ex parte, for her to, meaning that representing in their behalf without their presence, and is trying to squash that subpoena, saying that no, this preliminary hearing isn't the place for it. Now, the court will have to decide. It has nothing to do with what my opinion is or anything else. The judges and the courts and the appeal processes and all that stuff that's going to happen in the next few days as we move towards when will the final date for the subpoena to be put before the judge, and will it be squashed or not? We just don't know. But we do know that Kohberger's preliminary hearing is scheduled for June the 26th of 2023. And when will the court take up the issue, then or another date? And so we really don't know. If they're trying to get that information in there for June 26th, of course, this hearing to either make sure that she is present and brought before the court and to be at the hearings for the preliminary, these filings and everything will have to be held before June the 26th. So what date will that be? I have no idea right now. And which way will it go? They're arguing all this legalese. At the end of a couple of my slides, I have several pages of some of the documentation, and it's low quality. It's hard to read. And so I'm not going to even attempt trying to read it with my eyes tonight. But it's there, and so I'll flash through them after my presentation. And of course, anyone that wants to go in there and strain their eyes, they're welcome to do so. I hate that. I'm sure there's some better quality out there by now, but at the time I was doing my research, I couldn't find it, and I took what I could get. And but it's like I said, it's just legalese about what they uh, talking about trying to get. Is it relevant or is it not? But anyway, the attorney for the defense attorney for Kohberger, of course, hired some private investigators, and a private investigator named Richard. We're going to call him B, because I don't want to butcher his name any more than I would. But he filed a affidavit saying that BF, which is the witness that was living on the bottom floor, has information material to the charges against Kohberger. And portions of this information from BF has exculpatory to the defendant. And BF's information is unique to her experiences and cannot be provided by another witness. And it's interesting because when they're talking about unique to her experiences, are they only talking about the night of what did she hear? Did she hear a name called? And was that name said that doesn't match anyone that's in the house or known to the house? Or was there some type of threat that she was aware of from someone? There's so much speculation out there that you can go from one extreme to another. And is this information known to law enforcement through her prior statements? It absolutely could be. And they know that information, but they don't credit as being exculpatory or not. So we just don't know. But and there's also, this criminal investigator that's working for the defense. What generation of witnesses or rumor, or there's a lot of stuff that goes out there that when you go to these cases and you work in homicides, I know it's true from the law enforcement perspective that you'll get tips called into you that so and so told me this, and so you go and talk to that person, and they say, well, I never talked to them, and I never said that. And so when you go back and you go down through this, what is it when they play Tin Cup? When you try to pass a message,
like if you whisper one thing,
yeah,
and then you whisper somebody else, it
yeah,
turns into something totally different.
And is this something that? But there's a name for it, and I can't remember what it is. But anyway, um, the is that part of what's going on with this case? Because how, you know, is it possibly that there was a relationship at some point with Kohberger with someone in that house, and he'd been there before? Is there going to be some type of explanation that yes, I had seen him there before? And while that might help the defense, it certainly isn't exculpatory. People can be in residences at one point and then come back and
It's
commit.
called telephone.
Yeah, telephone. I'm telling you, who? Yeah, I'm telling you this.
Oh, they got it on here too.
Okay.
I got a text
Yeah,
message.
you see, I don't have the chat thing, the telephone.
Yeah. Oh, they got
Telephone.
it.
It'd be more. It'd be telephone game or something. I'm sure, but
Something like that.
yeah, it gets worse, people. It does. Me and Mrs. Steve, we just look at each other and stare sometimes. But anyway, I appreciate it, guys. But what and what has led to this, and of course, it's spreading like wildfire of what it could be, and I even saw some that were claiming that possibly um, uh, most outlandish, or one of the most outlandish theories, that Kohberger just happened by and was a witness to it that came after the crimes were committed, which is ridiculous. If anyone witnesses or came across it afterwards, they would have called 911. Kohberger didn't call 911. And so I give no credit to any of that type of theory and things. And I know I'm going to get some emails on that, but that's not part of it, because a story has to make sense. Now, what does this mean right now? I don't know. And what documentations do they have? And will the court force her to come to the preliminary? And possibly, now, if it turns out that she does have absolute, some type of knowledge that's exculpatory, it should absolutely be brought forth at the first moment. No one needs to be in jail one day longer than necessary. And that's how come law enforcement, in my career, if they had that type of information, it would never be anything that anyone wants in their career that they withheld evidence. Now, has it happened out there in the crime world? Absolutely. There's corruption out there. But in this case, with everything that we have, I don't believe that is the case. That's my personal opinion. But and then on the other side of this, that the attorney that's standing trying to squash the subpoena says that that the affidavit is without support and there's no further information or detail pertaining to the substance of this testimony. So they just basically the defense has thrown a net out there. And is it a fishing expedition? It could be. Or is it just some ploy that they're using, trying to bring and trying to plant the seed of doubt within the jury pool? And if so, I hope that's not the case, that they're trying to flank the gag order. If they are, then they were very successful at it, because it is a flanking maneuver, and it has caused a great bit of confusion in the last 48 hours. And and of this, because I'm sure that this attorney who is representing BF has spoken to BF and has spoken to law enforcement. And I'm sure law enforcement has spoken to BF also and said, what is this exculpatory? And if we don't see movement from even the prosecution side, then of course I say it's a nothing burger. There's there's nothing foundation to it that will cause any issues. But then again, I've been wrong before. And but there's a lot of issues that they're going to be fighting in the courts, as far as is a preliminary hearing to meet the criteria of even this type of information needed to be presented. And so they'll argue it through the courts, and we'll see where it goes with that. But here's some of and like I said, I'll just flash through it. You can come back through the show and stop it and on rewatch and blow it up and look at it. But the large bold printed, you can most certainly read, and that's a certificate of Idaho judge to secure the attendance of an out-of-state witness. And of course, BF is an out-of-state witness. And then this is the ex parte filing of where this attorney is going to be working on the behalf of BF. And this is affidavits for the support of motion for out-of-state. Oh, yes.
Woo.
And that's what I'm
That's good.
saying. Oh, goodness, yes. And this here is where the attorney is representing and saying that they're going to motion to squash this foreign subpoena, which I love the words motion to squash foreign subpoena. And for whatever reason, I love the way they phrased that. But I'll go back through them very slowly, so that if you need to stop the video on it whenever you have time to strain your eyes, absolutely do so. But hopefully, when a newer and clearer, and it may already be out there, is available, absolutely go out there and get it. And but like I said, it's just a bunch of legalese. Everything that you read right here on this slide and this slide is that pretty much what it all boils down to. And so we have to look at that. Now, do I still think that the evidence that they have against Kohberger is strong? Absolutely. His DNA was there. You have his digital footprint of visiting you on multiple occasions. We have a witness that matched the description, and the DNA profile from that knife sheath. I think they have a good case, and only the jury can be able to convict him. but I think that most certainly has to be presented to a court and see where it goes from there. But anyway, with that being said, I appreciate everybody being here, and we'll get into the questions. And also, I'm going to shout out to Ruckus. Ruckus has made his 1,000, and he has become monetized, and he is getting everything set up and getting his program set up. And at some point, we have discussed him assisting me and going on the road, or I'm going to assist him also, because it works both ways. And if y'all can support him, absolutely go to his channel, and I'd appreciate it. And but let's get into the questions just as soon as Mrs. Steve gets everything caught up here.
All right. Let's see here. I am all good. All right. Thank you, Purdue RN. Mrs. Steve looks good in blue.
Yes, she does. Has for
I just made him say that.
Has for at least 34 years.
Oh, look at there. Look at there. All right, here we go. And Anna Lizette, the same witness who failed to summon help till noon the next day.
Yes, and you know, were they aware? I mean, we don't know at what time they went to sleep, and some people party late and they wake up late. But yeah, I mean, I can see your point that the witness, you know, whatever they've told law enforcement, the prosecution feels with that. Now, will the defense bring this up? And we really don't know the story. We don't know how intoxicated any of these people were when they went to bed. And I would hate to say that these two young women knowingly knew what happened in that room and went to sleep. That a stranger or someone, and not even a stranger, if it was someone they knew that committed this type of crime, and think about yourself, that if you knew that you were sleeping next to two homicide victims, that that the offender hadn't been reported yet, could you go back to sleep? I mean, it wouldn't make sense. And for thinking how human nature works, and seeing it, and being there, and talking to witnesses that unknowingly slept in apartments or buildings near or homes next to where a homicide occurred, they never had any indication of what went on in there. Even when there were gunshots and things, they just didn't have it. And so I give them benefit of the doubt, because like I said, it's a party town, it's college kids. I don't know what type of drugs they were under, but I can understand your point. It is something to ponder, but I don't think that either one of these ladies would have slept next to within 12 or 15 feet of a corpse knowingly.
Dandy, how can they do this with the gag order?
I mean, courts do it to protect and make sure that a lot of the information doesn't get out there that would harm the case. And I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff. You know, there's pages of things and companies that have been shut down that nobody can talk, and the attorneys. Of course, it happens a lot with just the attorneys and the officers of the court, but it doesn't happen so much where you see all these other representatives and these major companies getting shut down. That is extremely interesting.
And you can answer this or not answer this.
Okay.
Miranda, is this for B or D at True Crime Web?
It's BF.
Okay. All right. And JJ, I keep going back to the question he asked when he was arrested. Was anyone else arrested? Could someone else be involved?
You know, absolutely. But now it doesn't mean it has to be someone else arrested from the scene there. It could be a family member that he may have disclosed information in. He may have been concerned because whenever they arrested him, who was present at that time? Was his father or his mother or his sisters or any other relations uncles or whatever that he may have confided in that were they arrested. So it's not always that other people get arrested, because you can get arrested for being an accomplice or trying to assist or help in destruction of evidence. So it's not always that would only mean that it was for the actual crime itself, although he may have been asking for that reason. Just don't know yet.
Okay. And Michelle C., I'm going to save yours till the end. It's off topic.
Okay.
Okay. Miranda, True Crime Web. Why hasn't BK entered a plea? Isn't that usually done during arraignment?
I'm Yes, and we've already had one attorney stated that he's looking forward to show that he's innocent and not guilty of these crimes. And I don't know when that hearing with a preliminary. Of course, we wouldn't even be going in that way unless they have some type of plea entered or some understanding of that, because uh, I don't know if there was a plea or if that's already occurred and when it occurred.
And Mike D.
Almost
Oh,
10,000, almost 10K. You're right on subscribers.
Thank you.
I'm absolutely in awe. I have great supporters out there, not just with the our memberships and our subs and people's super chat and stickers, but even on the foundation, we have a lot of people out there. It's important to us. Some wish to remain unrecognized, and I absolutely honor that. But without y'all, we would be unable to go and do what we do with the cold cases, and our hearts absolutely appreciate it.
All right. And Pigeon Mac at True Crime Web. What does the word foreign mean in this instant, please, sir and ma'am?
On this one, I guess just because it's out of the state, it crosses the state line. It has a foreign subpoena, which I found interesting. I'm assuming that, but that's what I take it out. I take it as it came from another state, and they're trying to say that that foreign subpoena from Idaho doesn't mean anything here.
And Sarah at True Crime Web. Did Kohberger live with them?
No, I mean, there's no indication of that. I mean, law enforcement, we know a search was done of his residence that was at the university that was across the state lines in Washington, and that was his residence. But now he was in that area frequently. For what reasons? And of course, the defense is going to say, of course, that he had reasons to be there. And the prosecution, of course, is going to say that he was there in a stalking nature, and for the ability of gathering information so that whenever he wanted to initiate this crime, he did so swiftly and with deadly results, resulting in the homicides of 4 victims. But no, he didn't live with them that I know of. Now, of course, that's going to be something that some people, of course, would probably say that he has been there before, and we'll have to see what that means.
Alrighty. That's gone. Okay. And Miss Kamala.
Kamala Norris, Blue Knot Special. Please have a great trip. Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that's reference that I've sent the notice for the Larry Crum case in Texas. I notified the property owners Monday. Haven't heard back yet. Hopefully I'll hear tonight or tomorrow. If not, I'll send my private investigator to the house and verify. And I'll be heading out Saturday going to Texas.
Okay, and I have to do this one for Dave. You know Dave, right? So I have to do this one for Dave. Did you all have marshmallows for the kitchen fire? LOL.
For that, I came into the house the other day carrying groceries after Mrs. Steve and I went out, and I throwed several bags on the stove, and one of the bags turned on the eye to another bag that was sitting on it, and I only burned up one bag. But I have the Coffee Mate container upstairs. I'll show it for our probably Wednesday night.
He did save the creamer, though. That was the
Yeah,
most
I took the
important.
cream.
So he did save the creamer.
Ah,
So.
yeah.
All right, let's see here.
And I'm still hearing about it, Dave.
Surely not.
Thanks, Dave.
I should have bought the marshmallows, though. That would have been priceless.
Yep.
All right, and Miranda at True Crime Web. I think BK has murdered before. Do you think so?
I think he has some type of criminal history in his background. Absolutely. He had a drug addiction. Now, does he have the abilities and it possible? Yes, I think it is very possible that he has. He had inclinations for it, I would think, and hopefully law enforcement will be able to do what they do best at. That once they get on the trail, they'll run down every bit of his financial, look at his college schedule, and be able to eliminate a lot of potential victims through his scheduling of schooling and when he was present and where he was at when he was traveling, through his financials and his whatever digital footprint of social media. And but if there is anyone out there with the modern technologies that's out there, I think that if there's other victims, they will be found.
And let's see here. SSS at True Crime Web. I think he planted evidence of someone else he knew, and he wanted the person he tried to frame may have been arrested. Oh, that wasn't a question.
Yeah, Triple S. No, that's interesting. Thank you, Triple S.
That is interesting.
It is.
All right. And CJK at True Crime Web. When do you think we'll know more about the ID they found, or if we'll hear more?
It'll be in the. I would imagine that will be in the preliminary, because they're almost, at that point during that preliminary, it will be a lot of things discussed about do we have the probable cause to go forth, and if they have that ID, that's going to be huge, and I don't see them being able to withhold it past that. Now, if that ID does exist, of course, the defense already knows about that. And so they'll have to come up with an explanation of it.
Pigeon Mac says we need to eat at Waffle House this week.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Okay. Let me make sure I get this one here. 33.
But once again, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Absolutely means a lot to us.
Okay. And that one goes. And let's see here. CJK at True Crime Web. In your opinion, why do you think the DA doesn't take this to a grand jury for an indictment?
I'm not fully aware of everything and what's necessary out there for that. I mean, every state may have different reasonings and of why they proceed with a trial. So someone that knows Idaho law may have a absolutely better question or answer for that.
Okay, so we don't have that. And then Triple S added 2. At True Crime Web, he thought he had this all perfectly planned, and having someone else go down for it is a perfect way to get away with criminal homicide.
That is an interesting perspective. Now, have criminals done that in the past, that they go in and part of the staging is for that? Yeah. And is it possible that there is something put in there? And did one of the surviving witnesses come across some type of information or something that is what you're speaking of? It's speculation, of course, but anything's possible.
Okay. All right. Let's go here. Okay, we did that one. And Cynthia, wouldn't BK know if his dad was also arrested? Do they reside at the same house in PA at the time?
Yes, but now whenever law enforcement goes in and does this type of high risk service of a arrest warrant, you want to serve that warrant at the point that you can identify the target. In this case, was Kohberger, at a distance away from anyone else and possibly any type of firearms or other weapons. And so, whenever you go after them and you go in there and you breach all those doors, you breach those windows, and you make contact, and generally, it's not just uh, one or two officers. You're talking about a full team. And these teams, and you may be talking about multiple teams, especially when you have multiple people in a house that might come to the aid of your target. And so a lot of things goes on, the dynamics, and you'll have people branching off to different parts of that house all at the same time. Um, and um, and so you if you can isolate that target, that offender at one end of the house, that's when you're going to do it. And so he may not know what's going on 80 feet away down a long hallway behind closed doors. And he may be concerned that, oh, they're arresting mother, father, sisters, relatives, or friends, or anyone. So he, at that point, he may or may not actually be line of sight. And even if he's in line of sight, he may not know if those other persons, because it's not uncommon to handcuff everyone when you go into that type of situation until you get control of the situation. Um, Even if you're there and you're trying to isolate anyone that could come to the aid of the target, for the fact that you don't want to get in any type of risk that would either cost the life of somebody.
Okay. We're going to hide that one. We're going to hide that one. All right. Now we have Truffle has been a member for 4 months.
Thank you.
There's a question with this.
Okay.
Could his father be asked about the sheep?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and have they? Probably so. Now, asking and getting the answer is two different things. Because everyone, regardless, even as a witness, you're not forced or compelled to answer that question unless you're in court. And sometimes judges and things, they will, compel individuals to answer certain things. And will they in that case? I don't know. That's left up to the courts. But I really, I'm sure that they asked a lot of information from the family. But as often as seen, families generally are very protective and don't give out a lot of information.
All right. So that was all of it. All right. So let's see here. We've got people talking about if it's going to make it to trial. Ruckus doesn't think it's going to. Do you?
Do I think it's going to go to trial? Um, if it doesn't go to trial and there is some type of plea deal, I hope it's the type of plea deal where he has to explain, such as what BTK did, not like what Golden State Killer did as far as just going to trial acting feeble and going back to the cell. I hope that Idaho requires him to explain everything in great detail if it doesn't go to trial.
So Ruckus is thinking a plea deal.
I can't argue about it. Ruckus has a great experience in this also, and I look forward to his opinions on it.
Yep. Let's see here.
And like I said, if you haven't seen Ruckus, Ruckus is absolutely brilliant. And I never, I've worked with a lot of corrections officers and everything, and he chose more of the correctional field at one point in his career. And he was in Florida and worked on death row, which is extremely interesting to me. And I've had some great conversations with him. And like I said, if you don't know Ruckus, check him out. Ruckus Rocks on YouTube.
All right. So now we're going to talk a couple of things that are off topic from Kohberger. Do you care?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Shoot.
Here we go. First one is Michelle C. Steve, the Fort Worth trio was abducted from a mall parking lot. Nowadays, the mall name is La Grand Plaza. I hope you would come back to Fort Worth at some time and work that case.
I'm going to do some research on it before I go because, I'm in Georgia. Texas is a long way off, and I may have to extend my trip if I ask Mrs. Steve real nice a day or two, whereas because it is very interesting, and when I'm in the area of such of that, I might, like I said, I'm going to do some research on it, and maybe I can get somebody to assist me out there that has some knowledge on it. But I'll get my PI that works in that area and see if they have some information and contacts for us. But thank you for the suggestion.
Okay. And JDR, Detective Steve, do you have any further thoughts on the Missy Beaver case?
Well, I'm hoping, there's recent information has been released, and it's, even to the point that they said there's possibility of DNA. Now, was there DNA found at the crime scene? Absolutely, but whose DNA? And it through a violent, and just like with Kohberger, you generally do not have a violent encounter with anyone that has any type of ability to defend themselves without some type of transfer of DNA. And I'm hoping that with Missy Beavers they did. And if there is DNA, absolutely, it's just a matter of time. But it has to be the offender's DNA because there's a lot of things and a lot of people in churches and places. But I think at some point it will be solved.
And Miranda Lee at True Crime Web, do you think the Missy Beavers killer was trying to change their gait? Because I don't think they were. I noticed the way the person holds their knee.
Law enforcement probably has far more video than we have. And so they would be able to see that gait. And even hopefully they have I don't know that they do. I have no idea what they have. But if the assault is on video, then of course they have even more information. But we just don't know yet. But they did show something, and it is very strange. That gate is absolutely something that is suspicious. But we saw it the same thing, that a lot of people looked at the gate of BG Bridge Guy, and it never led to the suspect. Could that be the case with Missy Beavers? Absolutely.
Okay. And you're done.
All right, guys. Well, I have a little bit of shorter show tonight, and which is fantastic for the fact I am so busy. I'm trying to get everything packed, trying to get in touch with everybody. I talked to Chris today. I talked to Larry. I spoke to Larry about an hour ago before the show, and so he's going to be coming down to Texas and meeting with us. And I told him I'd let him know. And like I said, it's Larry Crum. It's regarding Amber Crum, who went missing 40 years ago, a little 2-year-old child. And we're trying to find justice for her. And but hopefully everything goes well, and we'll be doing some searches next week in Texas.
One more question.
Sure.
CJK, question about Delphi at True Crime Web. It appeared some items removed from Alan's shed wasn't bagged, and I thought you had touched on that before. In what instances do you not bag properly removed from suspect home?
I don't think I've ever seen. Now I'm hoping that's not true. Now I know it's been reported. I'm hoping that clothing and all those items is not true, because you will always want to. I mean, of course, they don't make bags that fit over everything, but if there's anything that can be bagged, it should be bagged. If there's anything that can be wrapped, it needs to be wrapped. Did they do that? I don't know. If they didn't, if you think what happened in the O.J. Simpson case was brought before the and made public through the news media, you'll hear a lot of that in the Delphi case if it goes to court about how that evidence was handled, if that is the case.
And one more.
Miranda Lee, $9.99. Thanks for always answering my numerous questions. Absolutely. Thank you for your support. Means a lot to us. Appreciate it.
All right. Let's see. Let me just scan. Let's just make sure. All right. You're good.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. I'll see everybody on the members. I think tomorrow night is the detectives and the commanders. And then the morning watch show will be my last show for this week if I go out to Texas. So I've only got 2 more appearances this week before we head out.
Thursday night. You're not going to do Thursday.
Oh,
look at there. He can't even count.
I can't even count. But if I do Thursday, it will probably be a very short show. And we'll probably just, by Thursday, I will absolutely know if we're going. And it may just be, we'll probably totally focus upon Amber Crump.
All right. Thanks, Mods.
Thank you.
Love y'all.
Be safe out there.